Hi, welcome back to Check My Running. I'm Dylan. We're finally finishing out Thermont Loop today with a Bob's Hill downhill. So we did this entire loop here, and the last section was the purple, and now we're doing our final section, this orange section. This is all downhill. This is going to be relatively fast, I guess, compared to some of the previous sections because it is all downhill. But having done the entire loop, I was a little bit tired here, and so I don't go especially fast, especially on some of these really steep sections. So if you have been coming along this whole way, thank you. This has been a really fun adventure for me. I had not done this loop before and just decided I'd go out and give it a try, and it worked out. So here at the beginning, I'm really, these steps here, I'm just walking more or less. They actually are a little bit trickier than they seem. And I'm not sure the camera does justice to just how steep they are when you're in person. You can see there in the bottom right that my GPS was recording about a negative 18, negative 19% slope. And then the rest of this hill kind of maintains that. I think we'll, alternate between about a negative 10% and a negative 20%, somewhere in there. If you're interested in climbing this hill, you can go to part 1. So I came up this hill as part 1 and then ran around the loop. If you want a faster downhill, you could go watch the Cat Rock section, where we run down from Cat Rock to Maryland 77. And that one's a lot faster because I was pretty fresh at that time. And so, yeah, just running down through here. This was recorded back in March, so the trees and things hadn't leafed out yet. You can hear me in the background there, kind of grunting and sighing. I think at this point, every little rock kick and trip and everything was getting to me. So as I'm running down this hill, I am using my poles. Normally I wouldn't have. I think I was just really tired and I was still practicing with poles a bit. But I do like running downhill with poles. I like having those extra points of contact on the ground. I think it helps me have more confidence as I run fast down hills, that if I were to trip or something, I'd be able to catch myself. And so I like having the poles. And then also it's convenient for just reducing some of the load on the legs. So not just for stability, but reducing that load by putting the pole down just before your foot hits. And I find that it can help reduce the load on the quads and on your hips, which for a short downhill like this, where we're only going maybe 1.5 miles downhill, it's not going to really make too much of a difference. But let's say you were going down a mountain for 10K, 6.2 miles or something like that, then I think it really does add up, and it will help you be more consistent and stay consistent throughout. So just moving along. This is just a nice downhill. There's not a lot that's to see here or anything. It's just this. I wish I could say it was more interesting, but it is just Bob's Hill. There's not a lot to it. The trail is very well used and well maintained. The trail community here comes out and they trim the trees, and they put in these steps, which the steps are really more for erosion control than anything. They're not there to help hikers, but they do kind of serve that secondary purpose of helping hikers a bit, especially for as popular as this route is. I've seen people out here that are quite elderly or might even be walking with like a cane or something, and they're able to do it. It just takes a lot of care on their part to, and they're obviously going to go slow and take it easy climbing it. But because it is possible to climb, I think for somebody who isn't a regular hiker or a regular runner or something like that, I think that it's nice they have those steps there for those people. And so we can see here, I'm not going especially fast, 5 miles per hour, 12 minute per mile pace. We're just going pretty chill. I don't want to fall. And like I said, I've already done the whole rest of the loop. And so we're wrapping out here our last mile or so of the entire 18-mile loop. This was back in March, so I'm just coming off of kind of some winter training. Really haven't built up a lot of miles. I was more focused on strength at this time. Also, I think I might have mentioned it in another section. I had run out of water about halfway around the loop. And so there was about an hour where I was running without any water before I came across a campsite that I could refill at. And so it was a hotter day on this day. I believe it was about 80 degrees, which for March in Maryland is warm, like really warm. So I wasn't heat acclimated. I wasn't ready for any of that. And so this was just taking it easy. And that's all you have to do. Let's say you're out running and you find yourself in a similar situation. Maybe it was hotter than you expected. Maybe the climb was more difficult than you expected. Maybe you're just slightly underprepared, whatever that might be. Lack of water, lack of food, something. Generally, just going easier, slower is all you need to do. Unless you're in a real crisis situation where you are completely out of water in an extreme heat environment, or something that just is like I said, a crisis. Slowing down is going to be enough to get you to the end. Our bodies are incredibly resilient and very good at adapting and modifying sweat rate or heart rate or whatever it might be to keep you healthy and alive. It's another kind of steeper section here where they've put in a bit of stairs. These stairs make it really challenging to run. So I don't mind them when I'm going up too much. They still do make it difficult to run up, but since running up this is hard enough anyway, the steps aren't too bad. And I like that it gives me a little bit of a different kind of motion and a different workout. But going down it, they're not equally spaced. Sometimes, they're wet. There are different depths between the steps, things like that. So it just makes it really inconsistent, which makes it challenging to run. But like I said, it's mostly for erosion control. So you can see there to the right that all the water gets diverted off to the right. And that's what they want. They want to slow the water down, dissipate the water out into the forest to prevent this trail from eroding away or cutting really deep down into the ground. And it does a good job of that. So that is the purpose for these steps. And as I mentioned, kind of secondary for people who might not be avid hikers or runners and might need a little support getting up these steeper climbs. But then it levels out. This is a nice section that's very runnable, both up and down. So take advantage of it. Pick it back up a bit. Also, this section here is very non-technical. Small pebbles, but no rocks, no sharp points. Very easy to run, very comfortable to run. As we get further down the hill, due to gravity and probably just the surrounding geology, there are a lot more large rocks, and it makes it really, really difficult to run smoothly, you have to fully pay attention and watch where you're stepping, plan out, 10, 20 feet in front of you where you're going to be running if you want to maintain any kind of speed. See a little bit of that here where the rocks have started to pick up. There's a bit of a trail to the left and right of them where the majority of hikers go, which is nice. So down we go. About halfway down the mountain here. If you're doing this on a treadmill or something as you follow along, you might start to feel a little bit tired. I don't know of any treadmills that can fully do this kind of slope going down.
Hello. Hey.
But if you're not used to running downhill for a long period of time, then we're probably just about coming across the 1 mile mark. If you've been doing the same speed as me here pretty soon, and so you might start to feel it in your quads, you might start to feel it a little bit in your knees. It's normal. Practice makes perfect. Just keep at it. You'll build the muscles that support the downhill running, and just be sure to do some strength work as well. Squats, lunges, things like that really help with this sort of stuff and keep the knees nice and strong. A lot of people I run with complain about running downhill because they say their knees hurt, and that's to be expected. I think you're constantly forcing essentially your thigh, your femur, to push over top of your calf and the bones there. And that's part of why you have a kneecap, is to prevent that from happening and to keep that strong. And if that ligament that holds your kneecap in place, your patella in place, isn't strong enough, then you can end up with some tendonitis there. Sometimes results in some runner's knee, and it can be really painful, and you might not even feel it the same day. You might feel it the next day as you try to go up and down maybe a set of stairs, and that can hurt a lot. And for me, what has helped is strength training and stretching. Just making sure I really stretch my quads and hamstrings and make sure I get some good strength on those muscles. That's why I said squats and lunges, because those muscles can support your bone and prevent it from pushing quite as hard across your knee. The other thing is good form, good running form, running downhill. You might be able to tell from the video kind of how it shakes a little bit, even with the stabilization, that I'm stepping very frequently, and those small steps instead of doing really big steps help a lot, because you're not overstepping and your leg is actually more straight more frequently, you're not bending too much at the knee in front of you, and that can help a lot to prevent the knee injuries from running downhill for long periods of time. As I said, practice makes perfect, and just doing the downhills within your capabilities will help strengthen it no matter what.
Hey.
I always like running this hill a bit. Always, probably a bit of a strong word. The hill is very challenging, but because it is popular and you get to see people. And if I'm doing hill repeats on this hill, then I see the same people multiple times, and it's a little bit of an ego boost when I run up and down maybe twice in the time it takes them to do it once. Sometimes I doubt my training, especially if I'm not doing well at races, or I've got I struggle on a long run or whatever it might be. I might be really fatigued from that week's workouts, and then just comparing myself to like an average normal person who might be doing this, and just seeing that I'm twice as fast or more is like I said, it's a bit of an ego boost, and just reinforces the training and reinforces what I'm doing, even if I personally don't feel like I'm performing at my peak. And I don't mean that as like a slight against people. Obviously not everybody is running this hill regularly or anything. It's just, I just say that to point out that my training is working, and because I train and do these hills and do the hard work, that I'm able to do more than the average person, and keeps me healthy, and I like having that stamina and that ability to be able to keep moving and to keep running and to keep working hard and doing this. And that's part of the reason I do it. So now we're getting a little further down the hill. Getting near the end. Just a little bit ago we turned right. There's a bit of a fork in the path. The left will take you nearly to the same place as this right path. It just is a different parking lot. They're about 100 yards apart, so I parked in the lower parking lot, and so we're going on the right path to go down to the lower parking lot. I think I just whispered or muttered to myself there, almost there. I was so tired. I was so tired on this run. And I just was ready for it to be over. And that's, I think, how a lot of ultra running is in races or long runs. Is sometimes you just are pushing that slight bit further than you are used to. And it can feel really, really challenging. And you can feel like, I don't want to be here. But then the next time you do that same distance, you don't feel that way. And so you push a little further, and you keep pushing, and you keep pushing. And that's really why I got into ultra running. I just wanted to see how far could I go. And so far, I've been able to go pretty far. And so I want to keep going until I really do feel like I'm at my limits for training, or where it just becomes so miserable that I'm not enjoying it, even if I am increasing my distance. But we are almost done. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys on YouTube taking the time to watch my videos, leave feedback, give me a like or a subscribe if you enjoy this type of content and want to see more of my ultra running adventures. I will be posting more races, more training tips, things like that as I go. I don't want to become a YouTuber that just posts like constant 1-2 minute like TikTok short videos. That feels silly to me. I prefer these longer, long form content. That's a bit more meaningful. It can really show you what ultra running really is like, and not just, oh, here's a gimmick exercise that'll make you run better, or here's a 30-second short about some fuel brand that sponsors me, right? Ultra running is more than 30 seconds of content. And it is
absolutely on fire.
there we go. See, yeah, my quads are absolutely on fire. Yep, this really hurt. And so in terms of the content, I prefer these long form content. I want to show you what it's really like to do ultra running and how difficult it can be, the conditions that it can be. Earlier you saw, I think some of my very first videos on this channel is running in the rain and the snow, and that's just ultra running. You got to get out there and do it sometimes, even when it may not be perfect conditions. And I just see that as training, because not all races will be perfect.
I think I took the wrong trail. I took the visitor center one.
Yep, here we go. Yeah, I took a little wrong turn here, and we're just going to go back up this hill a tiny bit and do this last tiny little downhill. So again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this series. Thermont Loop, we saw some really beautiful views, some cool rocks, some nice trails, and I'll leave you here at the bottom of Bob's Hill where we started this whole adventure. Thanks so much. See you in the next one.